The legal ramifications were serious, far more serious than anything she had ever imagined. The news was already framing her actions as a public example of something much larger, a reflection of racial prejudice and discrimination in everyday life. The weight of that accusation was suffocating. But then came another twist. She scrolled further down the article and saw something she hadn't expected. A source close to the incident has confirmed that a second shopper, also involved in the altercation, may have had a prior relationship with the store's security personnel. Her breath caught. The mention of the second shopper didn't make sense at first, but as she read the rest of the sentence, the pieces started to fall into place. It wasn't just the shopper she had accused, it was something more. Something that she hadn't even considered. This wasn't just about two strangers in a boutique, there was a connection that no one had yet revealed, something that had gone unnoticed in the chaos of the day. The security guards in the store had been working there for years, but it wasn't just their professionalism at play. No, this had deeper roots. The source, anonymous as it was, seemed to suggest that the shopper wasn't just some random customer. There was something else, something she hadn't been aware of in her hasty judgment. The thoughts spiraled in her mind, unraveling everything she had believed. She had seen him as an outsider, someone to be suspicious of, but the new information suggested that he wasn't just any customer, he had connections, maybe even an understanding with the store's security. The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. She felt a sickening sense of betrayal, but also an overwhelming fear. What did this mean for her? For the accusations she had made? As the article continued to spread, the woman's phone rang. She almost didn't want to answer, but the number on the screen was from her lawyer. The dread crept in, her stomach twisting tighter. She answered on the third ring, her voice shaky. "Hello?" "I saw the article," the lawyer said, his voice steady but filled with concern. "You need to be prepared. The backlash is growing, and now this new detail about the shopper's connection to security team, this complicates things." "I didn't know about any of this," she whispered, the weight of her own ignorance sinking in. "You need to stay calm," the lawyer said. "Right now, the best thing you can do is avoid making any public statements until we get a clearer picture. It's a mess, and we don't know where it's going yet. But we need to move fast. This could go in a direction neither of us is ready for." The woman's grip tightened on her phone as she hung up. She stared at the screen, her mind racing with the implications of what had just been revealed. Her actions, so certain and deliberate at the time, were now being turned upside down. She had thought she was doing the right thing. But now she wasn't so sure. The shopper, too, was caught in the whirlwind of confusion and uncertainty. He had read the same article, had seen the same revelation about the connection with the security guards, and the growing speculation about his past. As the night went on, his phone buzzed again, this time with an email from his attorney. The tone was serious, direct. It confirmed everything he had feared. The legal implications were real, and the possibility of a lawsuit was becoming more likely. The store's corporate office had launched a full investigation, and he was now caught in the middle of something much bigger than he had ever imagined. But amidst the chaos, one question continued to hang in the air, unanswered and unresolved: what had really happened in that boutique, and how far would the consequences go? Would this situation tear everything apart, or was there a way for both of them to find some kind of resolution? The tension was mounting, and the stakes had never been higher. As the news continued to spread, the possibility of the truth being uncovered seemed both distant and inevitable. The story was far from over. The chaos of the last few days had built to an unbearable tension. Both the shopper and the woman had been thrust into a whirlwind of speculation, legal threats, and growing public pressure. The situation had escalated so far that neither could see a way out. The constant barrage of notifications, news reports, and the looming threat of lawsuits made it feel like there was no escape from the storm they had found themselves in. But just as it seemed like everything was unraveling, a phone call came through for the shopper. He had been dreading this moment, unsure whether to pick up or not. It was from his lawyer, and the weight of the conversation that was about to unfold felt immense. "Listen," his lawyer said, his voice calm but serious. "We've just received new information. The store has released a statement, and it's unexpected." The shopper felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He had no idea what new twist could be waiting. "What do you mean?" "The security guards, the ones involved in the incident, well, it turns out one of them has a history of complaints. Several people have come forward, claiming that he's been involved in racial profiling incidents before." His breath caught in his throat. "What? How is that possible? Why wasn't that in the story?" "That's the thing," the lawyer replied. "The store kept that information quiet. They've been trying to sweep it under the rug, but now it's coming to light. The guards didn't just act on their own. There's a pattern here, and it's bigger than either of you realized." The shopper sat back, stunned by this revelation. He had never imagined the security guards played such a significant role in the entire ordeal. The woman's accusation had been the spark, but there was a larger, darker undercurrent to the whole situation, one that went far beyond a simple misunderstanding. But just as he was processing the news, another call came through, this time from the woman. He hesitated, but then, against his instincts, he answered. "I need to talk to you," she said, her voice low, almost a whisper. There was a desperation in her tone, a shift in her usual defensive stance. "I've been told everything. I didn't know any of this." He exhaled slowly, his mind racing. "What do you mean? You've been told?" "The store. They've been hiding things," she continued. "I just found out about the guards, about the complaints. And about the connection. I didn't know her voice cracked, then she gathered herself. "I didn't know what I was walking into." It felt like the world had shifted beneath them both. The woman, who had once been so certain in her actions, was now grappling with the overwhelming realization that she had been part of a much larger and more troubling story than she could have imagined. She had acted out of suspicion, yes, but that suspicion had been manipulated by forces beyond her control. The security guards, the store, the system, it was all coming together in a way either of them had anticipated. "I need to fix this," she said, her voice breaking. "I'm sorry for everything. I don't expect forgiveness. But I want you to know the truth. The whole truth." The shopper stayed silent for a moment, his mind processing the flood of new information. This wasn't just about her mistake anymore, it was about a larger, systemic issue that they had both unwittingly been drawn into. The tension that had been building for days, the anger, the confusion, it was starting to make sense in a way he hadn't expected. And then, just as the conversation seemed to reach a turning point, the final, unexpected twist hit. His phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message not from her, not from his lawyer, but from the store itself. The subject line read, "Apology and acknowledgement of error." The store's corporate office had issued a public apology for the entire incident. They acknowledged that the security team had mishandled the situation, citing the history of complaints against one of the guards. They had also revealed that they were conducting a full internal review and that they were actively looking into ways to improve their policies on racial profiling and customer treatment. For the first time in days, the shopper felt something he hadn't allowed himself to feel: relief. The store's apology, while not enough to undo the damage already done, was a public acknowledgement of the role they played in the mess. It was a step in the right direction, but the deeper issue remained the systemic racism and the flawed security practices that had led to the entire incident. As he read through the statement, he felt a sense of clarity. The woman's apology, the new details about the guards, the store's public stance, they all came together in a way that made him realize something crucial. This wasn't just about an individual mistake. It was about a much larger conversation that needed to happen. "I've seen the statement," the woman said, as if reading his thoughts. The store is taking responsibility. But that doesn't change what I did. It doesn't change how I treated you. He thought about it for a moment, then responded. No. It doesn't change that. But it's a start. And then, as if weight of the situation had finally caught up with them both, the woman said something that neither had expected. I'm stepping back from my position at company. The statement left him speechless. She was resigning, choosing to remove herself from the environment that had led her to make the fateful call to security. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew she had to take responsibility for her role in all of it. The shopper, still trying to digest everything, replied with quiet sincerity, "That's a big decision. But if it helps you find peace, I understand." They both sat there, on opposite ends of the phone line, in silence. There was no immediate solution, no easy fix to the mess that had unfolded. But there was a sense of closure, an understanding that the situation, for all its flaws and mistakes, had sparked a conversation that needed to be had. The apology, the legal threats, the accusations, none of them were the final word. The real work was only just beginning. In the days that followed, the story continued to evolve. The shopper and the woman would never fully understand each other, but they both found a way to acknowledge their roles in unfolding drama. The store made changes, but they were just the beginning. There was still a long road ahead, one filled with difficult conversations, painful realizations, and a commitment to addressing the systemic issues that had been exposed. The story was far from over, but for the first time, it felt like it was moving toward a place of understanding, towards something better. The days after the statement from the store were a blur of conversations, legal meetings, and media attention. The shopper, still reeling from the events, found himself bombarded with messages, some sympathetic, others filled with judgment. The woman, too, was living under the weight of her decision to step back from her position at the store. The two of them, though still far apart in terms of their personal journeys, were linked by the same series of events that had, for better or worse, altered course of their lives. As the days turned into weeks, the ripple effects of what had transpired began to settle. The store had indeed taken action. The security guard who had been at the center of the incident was placed on leave while an investigation was conducted. Several others from the security team were reassigned to different stores, and the company issued an extensive review of its procedures. It wasn't a perfect solution, far from it, but it was a step toward accountability. The shopper, now feeling a sense of cautious optimism, began to see the first signs of change. A few weeks after the incident, he received a message from his lawyer. It was brief but significant: the lawsuit has been dropped. It appears the store has resolved the matter with the security guards. They're moving forward with their internal review, and you're free to move on with your life. The relief that washed over him was palpable. For the first time since that fateful day in the boutique, he could breathe. He knew that nothing would erase the memory of what had happened: discomfort, the fear, the frustration, but at least now, there was a sense of closure. He could look forward, not back. The woman, on the other hand, had yet to find peace. Her resignation from the company had stirred up a lot of attention, some of it positive, as people commended her for taking responsibility, but much of it negative. There were whispers, rumors, and harsh words. But as she sat in her apartment one evening, reflecting on everything that had transpired, she felt a strange sense of clarity. She had lost her job, yes. She had lost the position and the security it provided her, but she had also gained something she hadn't expected: insight. Over the weeks since the incident, she had started to educate herself on racial profiling, systemic bias, and the ways in which her own actions had been influenced by unconscious biases. She attended workshops, read books, and spoke with people who helped her better understand the deep-seated issues that led to her reaction in the store. It wasn't an easy journey. In fact, it was one of the most uncomfortable things she had ever done. But it was a journey she needed to take. And through it, she realized that her decision to step away from the company wasn't a defeat, it was an opportunity to change, to become someone better, someone more aware and more empathetic. One day, while scrolling through social media, she saw a post from the shopper. It was simple, a picture of him smiling in a coffee shop, enjoying a quiet moment of peace. Beneath it, he had written, "I've learned a lot in the past few weeks. About myself, about others, and about how important it is to listen. No one should ever feel like they don't belong, or that they are judged unfairly. Let's keep the conversation going." It wasn't just an apology, it wasn't just a statement, it was a call for change. It was an invitation for people to join in the conversation about racial injustice, about the need for compassion and understanding in everyday interactions. For the first time, the woman felt as if she was not alone. The journey ahead wasn't going to be easy, but she wasn't going to be afraid of it. In the weeks that followed, the two never spoke directly. They were still on separate paths, each trying to move forward in their own way. But something shifted. The apology, the truth, the conversations, they had all played a part in helping them understand one another, even without ever meeting again. The store's actions were only a part of the larger story. They made changes to their policies, but in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't just about the store, it was about the culture they represented. It was about the way people interact with each other, the assumptions they make, the judgments they cast. It was about recognizing that, as much as we think we know, there's always more to learn. For the shopper, the experience had forced him to confront his own beliefs, his own biases, and his own vulnerability. He'd spent years trying to keep his head down, trying to blend in, trying to be the model customer, the one who wouldn't make waves. But the events of those days had broken that illusion. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't escape being labeled, being judged. And in a way, that realization had been a wake-up call. He had always known there were systemic issues in society, but now he understood them on a deeper, more personal level. He wasn't just an observer anymore, he was part of the conversation. And it was up to him to help make that conversation matter. The woman, too, had undergone a transformation. What started as a misguided action had turned into an awakening. She had realized that real change doesn't come from simply resigning or distancing oneself from a problem, it comes from digging in, facing discomfort, and making the decision to grow. She wasn't perfect, and she knew that, but she also knew she was capable of more than she had once believed. The journey of self-discovery and change was one that would continue for both of them. There would be setbacks, there would be moments of doubt, but there was also hope. The future was still uncertain, but one thing was clear: the events of the past months had changed them, for better or worse, and neither would ever forget the lessons learned. In the end, this wasn't just a story about a misunderstanding in a boutique or an argument between two people. It was a story about the power of empathy, the importance of listening, and the difficult, ongoing work of challenging bias and racism in society. It was a reminder that change is never easy, but it is possible if people are willing to face the uncomfortable truths and work towards something better. As the months passed, the public attention on the incident faded, but the ripple effects of what had happened continued to reverberate in unexpected ways. The shopper found himself participating in more discussions about race and bias, speaking out when he saw injustice, and encouraging others to do the same. The woman, having taken a step back from her previous life, now worked for a nonprofit organization focused on educating people about racial equality. She found fulfillment in helping others understand the importance of inclusivity and challenging the systems that perpetuate inequality. Together, in their own separate ways, they had become part of the solution. They weren't perfect, and the work was far from over, but they had taken the first steps toward healing, not just for themselves, but for a society that still had much work to do. And though they would never meet again, their shared experience would remain with them forever, as a reminder of the power of a single moment to change everything, and of the enduring impact of empathy, understanding, and action.